Hello, rail fans, and welcome to a very special episode of French Fried Trains. This episode's going to be a bit different. We're not going to watch entire trains go by, just the lash-ups. Join us as we look back at all of our greatest catches from 2020. We're going to see foreign power, heritage units, and much, much more. Basically anything that stood out as memorable. It was the early days of January 2020, and our first memorable catch has an MP15 switcher trailing. This is still the first and only time I've caught a switcher out on the main line. And a nice little horn show from the engineer as well. The next lash up was a week later, and probably one of my favorite catches of the entire year. Check out this awesome 6 locomotive lash-up, 3 of them BNSF units, 2 in the war bonnet paint scheme. It's very rare to catch a war bonnet around here. This was only the second time I even seen one on a train, and so for this one to have 2 of them on it was a very awesome catch. It was now late January, and this next one doesn't really have any memorable motive power on it, but it sticks out to me as something was wrong with this train. He crept in so slow, it took almost a half an hour for him to go by. This was the slowest I've ever seen a train come into Carlisle. And we can see here there really was some kind of issue going on. The conductor is riding a tank car halfway to 2/3 of the way back on the train. He's looking down at the coupling here, and due to its slow speed, it makes me think that something was wrong with this train's brakes. He eventually came to a full stop, with his tail end down by me, and while he's not blocking the Central Avenue crossing there, he was blocking the Beekler Road crossing for more than half an hour before I had to leave. I never did find out what was going on with this train. It was another week later, getting towards the end of January, when we caught this lash-up. Check that out. The trailing locomotive is an old Dash 8. The Dash 8 was so successful for GE that it spawned all their later locomotives, the AC-44 CWs, and the entire GEVO line of all modern locomotives, some of the most popular locomotives ever made. Now it's a week or two later in February. And check that out, the exact same Dash 8, this time leading. And with CSX putting most of these guys into retirement or storage, this may be the last time we ever see a Dash 8. At least on CSX's line. This one isn't that impressive of motive power, but it's memorable to me, as it was the last train I filmed at track speed past the park before I moved out of Carlisle. This clip is memorable for its single YN2 paint scheme leader in the bright sunlight. I barely caught this early March Norfolk Southern train at the crossing. And check it out, a maintenance of way continuous rail train. We're at the Union Road crossing in Carlisle, and this is the last train I got before I moved out of Carlisle. It also had a DPU. After moving to Dayton and getting our new place squared away, it was finally time to find some new railfanning stomping grounds. I ended up down by the bridge for our first catch in Dayton. A single SD40E running as light power, originally built as an SD50. A little while later, he came back the other way after picking up a single car. Later that same day, we caught this 4-locomotive lash-up, with the final unit being an awesome catch because it's an Operation Lifesaver unit. And now, it's bright and early on a mid-April weekend morning, and we're out by the bridge, as word on Facebook was, NS 4003, a DC to AC black bonnet, was leading a train. And check out that awesome sound as 4003 roars across the bridge with a 5-unit lash-up. A few days later, and we were railfanning at 2nd Street Market. This local had already come in and stopped to throw the switch, but I'm including this part here because this was the first time that I was able to film the old chassis system caboose that they use as a shoving platform. The next weekend, and we're back by the bridge for a special Norfolk Southern work train. This work train was carrying a lot of awesome things, so we're going to go ahead and watch the whole train here. It wasn't too long. And check it out, this guy even has a bunch of crew quarters on board. Even a really old passenger car. Now it's the 1st of May, and we're at 2nd Street Market to catch the Norfolk Southern local train, led by an SD42. It's a cloudy May day, and this 4-locomotive CSX train comes in. The second locomotive is an SD40E3. Note the flared radiator vents. Another hot May day, and we catch a multiple locomotive Norfolk Southern train. This one has a high hood GP38 too. Unfortunately, the trees block most of it, but this was the only time I've caught a high hood. This 4-locomotive Norfolk Southern train came in slow and stopped with its engines on the bridge right in front of me. I still don't know what was going on with this train. He ended up staying stopped in front of me for about half an hour, and in that time, he shut off all 4 of his engines, and then later restarted with only 2 locomotives running. Then finally, he left. Another May afternoon, and I have been following the CSX local train through town. This time, I caught him at a different vantage point on the other side of the Heidelberg plant off Leo Street. An awesome catch, a reverse move with the chassis system caboose in the lead. A hot Saturday morning, and we're at 2nd Street Market to catch a Norfolk Southern train with a red leaser on it. A WAMX GP35R out of Alabama. Another hot weekday, and we're downtown to catch the CSX Local's reverse move across the bridge. You can see the conductor riding to make sure everything's safe. Another day, and we were filming what we thought was a fairly standard intermodal job, but check out the timing of this. Boom, just as the end of the intermodal train goes by, a Norfolk Southern appears going the opposite way. The timing on that has to be 1 in a million. A week later, and we got downtown just in time to see the FRA inspection train. This was a fairly standard CSX manifest, but he gave us a great little horn show. A rainy day, and we're at 2nd Street Market to catch a different perspective on the chassis system caboose shoving platform leading. Now, it's a weekend morning at the end of May, and we're at the Albany Street crossing to catch a heritage unit. Check that out. The Southern Heritage Unit leads a 4-locomotive Norfolk Southern train. The next week, we were at Leo Street for this unique catch. A GP38-2 running all by itself, light power. Later that same day, we caught this train, and it was a treat. The trailing locomotive is an SD70 AC rebuild built from an SD70 Mac, and this train would stop in front of us and back up as it was performing switching operations. An entire road train doing switching. He stopped for a while, and now he's reversing. This was a monster-long manifest train. His tail end was down in Needmore Yard, and I can only assume he was dropping off or picking up more cars down there. They repeated this going forward, stopping, and backing up process a few more times over the course of about an hour. I'm not going to show all his back and forward moves here, as there's already an entire video about it on the channel. But after about an hour, he was finally ready to leave. And boy, did it seem like it was a struggle to get this monster train moving. And off he goes, finally on the move. And now it's later on in the afternoon, still that very same day, and we're downtown by the bridge at Monument Street. And check that out, the leader is a brand new ST70AH, one of the brand new Tier 4 models, and featuring many differences from previous locomotives, most notably a flat roofline that doesn't dip in the middle like on other models. A cloudy June morning, and we're in downtown Dayton to catch a heritage unit. the Erie Heritage Unit trails as the train goes across the bridge. A hot summer weekend morning, and we're downtown at 2nd Street Market to catch another train with foreign power. Check it out, a Columbus and Greenville GP15-1. What an awesome surprise. Another bright sunny day, and we're at Leo Street to catch a 4-locomotive lash-up with an SD70 Mac. This one has a trailing unit in the YN2 paint scheme. I've included it as the YN2 paint scheme is getting rarer and rarer. This one was unique because as we were recording a Norfolk Southern train, a CSX train came up alongside it on the other track. The tail end of the Norfolk Southern would go by before the tail end of the CSX passed us. That same week in June, we'd be down by the bridge to catch a CSX intermodal train. Little did we know, we'd have a train race on our hands, as a Norfolk Southern train appears on the other track, trying to overtake the CSX train. That was an awesome case of right place, right time. Another bright sunny morning, and a YN2 leader on a 4-locomotive lash-up, with the 4th unit being a road slug. That same day we caught the CSX local again. Later that day, we would catch them coming back with the loads and hear the cabooses whistle. Gondolas full of scrap metal from East Dayton. This one isn't that unique as far as motive power, but it's the only time I've caught trains at Taylorsville Metro Park under the bridge in Vandalia. He would end up coming to a stop in front of us. While he was stopped there, not one, but 2 trains would pass him. a late June weekend evening, and we're down by the bridge to catch an SD-70 Mac leading. The next morning, and we are back at Leo Street to once again catch the CSX local train. But before it goes by, a high railer goes by on the other track. We tried to race downtown and catch him by the bridge, but we didn't make it. He beat us there. But it did put us in the right position as moments later, the Norfolk Southern local came through. The next week, we're at Leo Street again, to once again catch an SD-70 Mac. Another nice catch under the sun, as the locomotives are both in the YN2 paint scheme. This day was another case of right place, right time, as we were by the bridge to catch a CSX intermodal and autorack train. Halfway through the CSX train, I hear a sound behind me, and there's a Norfolk Southern train coming up the other way. A random midsummer day, and we catch the local train again, this time with no caboose. A late summer's evening, and a northbound autorack train with dual YN2 AC44 CWs. Another day, and we've got a shiny SD-70 Mac leading. A hot weekday morning, and we had what I thought was a ballast train, but the end of it had the Lorem shoulder ballast cleaner on the end. Later that day, we would catch this Norfolk Southern southbound with number 4004, a DC to AC conversion black bonnet. Now it's mid-October for our first Norfolk Southern train blasting by at the Washington Street crossing. A 5-locomotive beast. That same day, and we once again catch a train with an SD70 Mac trailing. Still that same day, and we caught a Norfolk Southern maintenance of way train. Now it's a gloomy November day, and this was the first train that we've caught at the Finley Street crossing. Later that same morning, and we're at 2nd Street Market to catch some roaring dual EMD locomotives. The next evening, we are at 2nd Street Market to catch a DC to AC conversion yellow bonnet. Now it's the end of November, and we're back at Washington Street for an awesome Norfolk Southern catch. Three locomotives on the front, but this train's distributed power unit was the real gem. And there it is, a Norfolk Southern DC to AC blue bonnet. Later, we would catch this train with a CM44AC shiny rebuild. Still later that same day, we would catch this Norfolk Southern train with a heritage unit trailing. Check it out, the Pennsylvania Heritage Unit comes out of the shadow into the sunlight. Now it's mid-December, and we're back at Finley Street to get a close-up shot of the Federal Railroad Administration inspection train. Now it's another December day, back at Washington Street, and we catch this train with 3 EMD locomotives. Later that day, we would catch this one with a YN2 leader. once again catch an SD70 Mac trailing. This late December day, we got a northbound CSX auto rack train with the Seaboard sticker unit trailing. Now it's Christmas Day 2020, and we're at Leo Street to catch the CSX local doing a switching job. He would stop and move back and forth in front of us all afternoon. If you want to see the full story of this train's switching work, be sure to check out our previous video, as it's all in there. After working the customer down this spur line, he would be ready to head out. And there goes that awesome chassis system caboose again. Well, folks, thanks for watching this very special episode of French Fried Trains, of all the highlights of the year 2020. Everyone stay safe out there. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great new year.